Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome back to the Freedom and Wealth Seekers podcast. We're on episode 31. I'm super excited to be with you all today, this evening. Some amazing things are taking place within the Freedom and Wealth Seekers community. The community is still growing. I want to shout out all of my new followers on Instagram. I just hit 10,000 plus followers on Instagram. I've been sharing several videos. Some of you may have seen some of the videos that I've been sharing on Instagram. No strings attached. I've just been promoting videos on Instagram, syndicating more content. What I am discovering on these platforms is that if you're not spending money on the platforms, your content isn't being seen. And some of my one-on-one students and academy members, you all know, as we talk a lot about advertising, both online and offline, you have to spend money to make money. And the internet is a growing platform in itself. And these smaller platforms, well, I can't really call them small, but Instagram, where there's billions of people online throughout the day, and Facebook and TikTok, there are people worldwide. And I heard a self-development speaker say once, "You're telling me all you need is an iPhone and a debit card, and you can publish information all over the world." And when you really think about it, it's amazing. Like, we're talking the 80s, you would have to get on a news station, which is kind of easy to do these days, but you have to get seen on a regular basis, you would have to pay hundreds of thousands, if not millions, tens of millions of dollars to get seen on a regular basis with whatever business or opportunity you're promoting. So I am going to jump right into the disclaimer here before we get started. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, understand that my content is intended and must be used for informational and sometimes entertainment purposes only. It is very important that you do your own research, your own due diligence before implementing any of the methods that I mention or are mentioned by others on this platform, and using the tools and resources that are shared. Now, any results that we share on my platform, they are not typical. All right, we're going to talk about some results recently that I've shared, but understand that they're not typical. There is no promise that you will experience those same results that I share with you all. Any investments that you make are based on your own personal and financial circumstances, and I recommend that you consult with a licensed professional and verify anything that is said on this podcast. So, a lot of you received a text. I'm glad to see you all here. Last week's podcast, I don't know if we can outdo last week's podcast, but it was phenomenal. Jennifer dropped so many gems unexpectedly. She dropped so many gems. It was a masterclass in itself. So many of you reached out to talk about how inspired you were by Jennifer's story. And I dug a little deeper earlier this week. You all shared with me what you learned during that podcast. And that is very important to me. I want to make sure that you're learning something every time you are here on the Freedom and Wealth Seeker planet. All right. That's right. I called it a planet. So I am going to shout out a few people. Shout out to Jennifer again. Thank you for the thank you card. If you did not see Jennifer's thank you card, she I posted it on Instagram in my story. Since 2007, I have received cards, whether it was the holiday or after a student partner closes a deal, just giving me some words of encouragement and their feelings on their experience. And I tell you, it's different than recording a video or interview on a podcast. It's something I'm kind of old school, so even though I'm young, I'm still old school, and it's something about a handwritten postcard or note from your client. It just hits different. So thank you, Jennifer, for sending that to me. Um, Also, I want to shout out all of our inner circle members, my one-on-one clients, and I want to shout out my academy members as well. You know who you are. We are going to be growing both the academy, and I'll be accepting 5 more one-on-one students this year. So I'm super excited about that as well. So you know what today is. It's Wednesday, folks, and it is Direct Mail Wednesday. So I I jumped into the mailbox today, and somebody's sending me a text right now while we're live here. And this is somebody that I'm gonna bring on as a guest that's in the banking world, and we're gonna be talking a little bit about the banking world today. But before we get into our conversation, Direct Mail Wednesday, I received this postcard. It's pink to my office in Baltimore, and I want to talk about it. It's a template. Okay, I believe they may have printed this off. It's an index card, the size of an index card. They printed this off at their office or their home, and they sent this out. They said, I've been desperately trying to reach you for a few months now in reference to your property located at this particular address, 507 Tunbridge Road, Baltimore, Maryland. I've tried just about everything I could to get in contact with you, but nothing has worked. So I'm sending you this postcard. My partner and I buy 5 to 6 houses a month, and we are very interested in buying your property ASAP. We are cash buyers and we can settle in 2 weeks. We have a team of general contractors who are ready to begin work as soon as possible. So if the property needs work, that will not be a problem. I am hopeful that you will call me back as soon as you receive this postcard so that we can buy your property immediately. All right. I could really dive deep, and let's see how much time we have. I'm gonna break this down at a beginner level. I'm gonna break this postcard down at a intermediate level, and then I'm gonna break this postcard down at a very highly advanced level. All right. And some of you all, depending on your experience, will be able to follow as I break this card down. Some of this may go over your head, but hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully all of you can benefit from how I'm going to break this down. First thing with this postcard, it's an eye catcher. It's an eye catcher. It's pink. All right. The color pink, to me, when I see it, and to most people, when they see pink, they think potentially someone's being laid off. You heard, we've been conditioned since youth that you get a pink slip, that means it's time to go bye-bye, right? It's something that's in our subconscious. Now, I can't say that's the case for the younger generations, but for my generation, when we see a pink slip, it's really never good news, right? All right. Now, if we see a pink slip and we have that pre-existing belief, it's a bad thing, we're going to pay attention to that outside of all the mail in the mailbox, right? Not only that, it stands out. It stands out of all the other mail because most mail was in white envelopes, okay? Very rarely do you get a pink postcard. So this automatically stands out and it gains attention, okay? Now, the other thing is, this is why I said I believe they wrote this at home. They made this at home because they hand wrote, it's handwritten, the return address and my mailing address. It's handwritten, all right? which is good. It shows effort. And then the property that they're interested in, they left blank spaces, and I guess they hand wrote all of the properties they're interested in, which again shows effort. Okay. Now going into this this postcard, they say, I've been desperately trying to reach you for a few months now. Now, if I'm not a motivated seller and I'm a savvy real estate investor, I'm not desperate to sell my property. So they're telling me that they're desperate. So right then and there, I'm thinking I have the upper hand. Now, I don't know if this is some type of reverse psychology that they're trying to use to get me to call them, but I want to send out a postcard that says I'm desperately trying at the level I'm at right now in this business. I'm not going to send out a postcard that says I'm desperately trying. I'll say I have been trying to reach you numerous times, but I'm not going to use the word desperate. That's just not my style in marketing. I'm not saying that this doesn't work, but you also have to understand this, ladies and gentlemen, is that your message that you send your prospects must match who you are as a business owner, who you are as a person. So if you're if you're not desperately trying to get in touch with me, don't tell me you are, because I'm not a fool. I wasn't born yesterday. Like, this is the only postcard that I got from you guys. I didn't get any voicemails with this very unique name at the bottom, and I'm not even going to try to butcher the name here, but I know they weren't desperately trying to reach me. It is kind of cheesy, right? All right, so they say that, and then they go in and they say, I have tried just about everything I could to get in contact with you. All right, now, again, I never got a call from this company. I never got an email. I never got a text. Okay, I don't recognize the name, so I'm gonna say I never got a text. No one ever knocked on the office door. So again, the message doesn't match. All right, the message doesn't match. My partner and I buy 5 to 6 houses a month. All right, okay, that's some credibility. I like it. All right. I do like the fact that they say they buy 5 to 6 houses a month, and we are very interested in buying your property ASAP. We are cash buyers and we can settle in 2 weeks. Okay. I don't know about other markets around the country. I can't speak on everybody's market. I've closed deals in Pennsylvania. I've closed deals in Maryland. I've closed deals in North Carolina. I can't speak on what they're saying here as far as can settle in 2 weeks. I've never settled in 2 weeks. And I've been in business for almost 20 years. I've never settled a deal in 2 weeks. So again, their messaging must match. And taking it to an advanced level, they need to know who they're marketing to. All right. Write this website down, folks. uspropertysearch.com. I love uspropertysearch.com is because when you're prospecting, meaning when you're looking for deals, you can actually see how long the property owner has owned the property. Has it been 5 months? Has it been 15 years? Has it been 30 years? It will let you know that. The person that sent this postcard out, I don't know if they really did their research. I can't tell from reading this. This is where I really they lost me here. We have a team of general contractors who are ready to begin work as soon as possible. It sounds good, but now they lost me because I'm an experienced real estate investor, and no one hires a team of general contractors who are ready to begin work. Or maybe I'm reading this wrong, but if you have a project, you usually hire one general contractor. They are saying they have 5 to 6 houses. They buy 5 to 6 houses. So maybe they have a general contractor for each property. I don't know. Okay. So they really lost me, but I'm not gonna beat this postcard down because again, they did some right things. Pink postcard, handwritten, and not to forget, they put a nice headline. We pay the most for your house. Okay, we pay the most. I am hopeful that you will call me back. Again, more desperation. It's almost like, you know, in my day, when I was a kid trying to date a girl, I would be the more desperate I was towards the young lady, the more she would move away from me. Okay, and I would use words like, "I'm hopeful you'll be my Valentine" or something. Like when you hear, like write this down, folks. People are attracted to strength, not weakness. It's a universal law. People are attracted to strength, not weakness. So when I hear the word desperate and I'm hopeful, there's no sincerity, there's no um, intentional messaging here. They're not moving with intention. They're just throwing something out to see if it sticks. Okay? They're throwing something out to see if it sticks. There's something else here. Okay, I'm hopeful you will call me back as soon as you receive this postcard so that we can buy your property immediately. I like that sense of urgency. We'll buy your property immediately, but there's just too many things in here. So the things that I would change, like we are cash buyers and we can settle in 2 weeks, I would say we can settle within 30 days because it takes 2 weeks just to get title work, especially in this climate now when most people are working from home. Okay. I would also say I have a team of contractors. I wouldn't even say general contractors. Why do I care? I'm selling my property. The idea is for you to be purchasing a property. So I wouldn't care if you had a general contractor or not. The only thing I'm caring about is how fast you can buy my house. Okay. My partner and I buy 5 to 6 houses a month. Well, that sounds great. Okay. Now, are they doing that? I don't know. But who knows? Where's the proof? Can you produce a website that shows properties you've purchased? Or do you have an email list that shows properties that you sold and purchased? Okay. That understand when you're marketing, some people will call you out to see if what you're saying in your messaging is actually valid. All right. So you want to be, if you're doing direct mail, I recommend you become Googleable. Okay. Somebody can go into Google and find you, right? Or find your business and find your company or your YouTube channel. And it shows you at properties. You don't have to sell 5 to 6 houses. I'm not saying everybody, you need to get to this point where you're selling or buying 5 to 6 houses a month. It could be one house, but make sure your messaging aligns with who you are and what your company is doing. Okay. Other than that, in regards to this postcard, you got to send more. That's the only postcard that I received from you guys. And again, I'm not going to butcher the name. I couldn't even pronounce the name. So just there, like understand this rule as well, folks. People like to take the path of least resistance. So if I can barely pronounce the person's name on the postcard, that's just another barrier that I got to get through to sell my house because I can't even pronounce your name. So I don't know if you have a nickname or if you can abbreviate your name possibly or create some type of avatar, but your name needs to be readable and not taking anything away from anybody's name, but it like, I'll give you an example. One of my companies, I used to put MUMJ on all of my marketing. That was the name of the company, all of my marketing. and people would butcher the name. They would say Mumja, Mumjay. Nobody knew how to pronounce the name. And I learned this the hard way because people at real estate investing meetings would butcher the name. And I'm wondering, is that why I'm getting a low response from all my direct mail or my website? Because nobody knows what it is? Like, understand your branding is important. Your branding is important. So, and I learned the hard way. And I'm glad I learned that early in my real estate career. And for 2-3 years, I was rocking with MUMJ all day long. And people were calling it Mumja, Mumj, Mumja. And I'm like, what is that? Like, they were butchering the brand. They were butchering my name. And when someone is confused, guess what? They don't buy or they won't sell or use your service. Write this down. A confused mind never buys. That's in business. So that goes back to messaging. Everything is in the messaging when we're talking about marketing. So your messaging needs to be aligned with who you are. All right. If it's a hard name to pronounce, you need to break it down. You know how, some websites break down how to pronounce certain things. You might need to have those on your marketing pieces so people know how to pronounce your name, because it just the littlest things can affect someone calling you. Okay. I sold that property. I never called that person because that messaging did not speak to me. It did not grab. The only thing that caught my attention was the color of the postcard, and that they did take some time to write on the postcard, but the messaging was off and it didn't attract me to call them to even get an offer. Okay. I didn't take that postcard serious. And I only received one. I only received one. So that's direct mail Wednesday. That was a little tough one. I wanted to keep it real though. Had to keep it real, and I had to go back to when I started, and I used to make the same mistakes in regards to branding. So, freedom and wealth lesson number 6. We're on lesson number 6, folks. The lesson for today is do your own homework. And I'll share why in a second. What I mean by do your own homework, meaning your own research, your own due diligence. A lot of times, we the people, we conform to the sheep or herd mindset mentality, where we go with the flow of things, whether it's the news, whether it's our sphere of influence, our closest people in our networks, will follow what they're doing, whether it's investment advice, whether it's things that we consume. Like I'll give you an example. Somebody may say, hey, Lauren, that restaurant I ate at earlier today was amazing. You should try it. And Lauren goes to that restaurant and she has the worst experience ever. Okay. She has the worst experience ever. She went on my word, but she didn't do her own research. She didn't know that it was a vegetarian restaurant. And she's not a vegetarian. But she didn't know. She just went off of my word. I didn't tell her. Okay. Same thing with real estate. There is a lot of people talking about the recession. So a lot of people, like, the recession has to be the most Google words, or recession has to be the most Google word on the internet right now. Has to be. Like, everybody's talking about it. Everybody. I don't even listen to the radio, but I'm guaranteeing people on the radio are talking about a recession coming, or we're in a recession. This is what I recommend. When I say do your own research and homework, whatever markets you're investing in or thinking about investing in, you need to know what's going on in that marketplace before you invest your money. All right. And your time. You need to know what's going on. I want you to understand this. Whether it's a recession or not, as long as you know how to, again, buy low and sell high, or buy low enough where you can make a profit after getting financing or putting a tenant in place. Once you know that, you are now what I call recession proof. You can build a recession proof real estate investing business. But it all comes down to how good you become at doing market research, figuring out what's going on in the market. So I'm gonna give you an example. When I look at a market that I want to invest in, okay, there are a couple of things that I have to check off my list. All right. Number one, I want to know where most of the money is being invested in that particular marketplace. And what I mean by that, for me, this is for me, what side of town, I'm gonna break it down real easy and simple for you to understand. What side of town is getting the most investment from a public standpoint to a private standpoint? Where is the money going? All right. Are the schools getting, are the school systems getting money generated in those, in a certain zip code? The hospitals, are they generating revenue? And what zip codes are they located in? Are there any shopping centers being built? Because if shopping centers are being constructed, that means population growth is taking place. Okay, what's happening? Housing, new construction, is that taking place? So that's like on a big scale. I'm looking to see where the big money is being invested in certain cities that I'm interested in investing in. And I'm not saying this. I'm not saying Atlanta. I heard Atlanta is a great place to invest because a lot of people are moving there. No, I want to know what parts of Atlanta are getting investment, are people investing? So that's on a big scale, right? On a smaller scale, though, this is what affects my pockets. Okay, I want to know which neighborhoods have the least amount of inventory right now and the most inventory when I go into a market. Which markets have the least amount of inventory? Which markets have the most? All right. And when I'm saying markets, with zip codes. If I'm going into a new market. All right. I also want to know in these zip codes, what is the average days on market? It doesn't matter what the price point is. I want to know the average days on market. Is it 10 days? Is it 20? Is it 30? Is it 60? Is it 120? I want to know the average days. Once I figure that out, I also want to know the average price for that zip code. Now, to break it down at a even smaller level, like getting really technical, out of those properties that I'm looking at, what types of properties? Because remember, I'm a rehabber, I'm a wholesaler, but I love rehabbing in markets like this, where there are a lot of profits to be made, where there is still a demand, even though there's a lot of talks of recession in certain neighborhoods around the United States. So I want to know, are they row homes that are selling in 20 days, or are they single family homes? I'm looking at all the numbers before I pull the trigger, before I make a buying decision. I'm doing all of my homework. Okay. I'm looking to see, all right, 40% of these properties that have been on the market for 20 days and up until they go under contract, these properties are row houses, 40% of them. The other 60% is a mix between single family and single family detached, condominiums, and some semi-detached properties. All right. So they're different styles, different types of property selling in that particular zip code. So I'm figuring out where my niche is going to be. All right. I'm also, now that's speaking from a rehabber standpoint. I'm also looking at what the acquisition prices are for these properties that are selling in 20 days or whatever days on market. And I'm not afraid to buy a house where the average days on market is 120. Like when I started rehabbing houses in 2004, they're very rare in the neighborhoods where I was investing would a property go under contract within the first 24 hours, first 5 to 25, 30 days. Very rare. All right. It was normal for us to be under contract for 90 to 120 plus days. That was normal. That's not normal today in most markets around the country. If you're pricing your properties correctly. Wholesale deals, okay? The last wholesale deal one of my student partners closed went under contract in less than 24 hours. Went under contract in less than 24 hours. That is not the case in all marketplaces. Please understand that. All right. So when I get my data, and one of the best places I get my data from is uspropertysearch.com. By the way, you can go to that site. You can get a 7-day free trial. I've been using that site for almost 6 years now. Going on almost 6 years now, getting my data from that company. Okay. The thing that I love about that is I can see how much the property sold for before it was renovated and sold retail. So now I'm putting my wholesaler cap on. And if I see these properties in Atlanta that are now selling for 500,000 to 600,000, they were purchased by the investor, the LLC, most of the time between $250,000 and $350,000. So now as a wholesaler, I know depending on the style of the house, depending on the level of repairs that need to be completed, I know exactly where I need to make my offers to put my company in a profitable position. I know exactly where I need to make my offers. Is everybody following this? Because I don't have any PowerPoint. I'm really speaking straight from here to you all. Put a yes in the chat if this is making sense tonight. Josh says, yes, it is. Good, good, good. So, you got to do your homework, folks. I'm going to show y'all something that's going to blow you away. I'm going to show y'all something in a moment that is going to blow your minds. And I want you to understand the power of media and how it can keep you in a state of paralysis if you buy into what the media is saying. You got to understand something, folks. The people writing the articles are not the subject matter experts. They're just reporting. They're just creating content and creating a story to entertain and inform you on what they've researched. But they're not the subject matter experts. I'm talking about the writers of these articles, okay? The subject matter experts are people like me that are in the trenches every day in the market, buying and selling real estate, that know what's going on. I never make my financial decisions off of the news. Like if they say the real estate market's bad, I'm not going to say, oh, I need to not buy any properties. No, If they say the real estate market is bad, I'm diving in deeper, right? That's the object of the game. Like buy low, sell high. So if they're saying the real estate market is bad, I know the consumers are going to believe that, and they're going to sell at a depressed price. And guess who's going to be there to buy the property? Me. I know what the news can do to a consumer in real estate because I've been there. I've seen it. I saw people who were in neighborhoods where they paid $500,000, and their neighbors were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 foreclosures taking place, and they watched their neighbor's home sell for $175,000. They paid $500,000. Guess what they did? They walked away from their property, not knowing that their property would appreciate again over time. This happened all over the country. And this isn't just me saying this, folks. This, there's this is documented. I'm going to show you some documentation right now. This is documented, folks. So let's see what I can pull up here. Going to go to our trusted friend Google. Check this out. So this is Google. How many foreclosures? Now, the reason why I'm typing this in is because the last recession, the housing crash, those are two different things. All right. Recession and housing crash are two different things. Is a housing crash, a culprit of a recession? Some people would say yes, right? But I want you to understand, because I'm hearing so many conversations out here, people saying, I'm just going to wait for the market to crash and then I'm going to buy, and I'm hearing people saying this from the retail side and the investor side. And I'm just like, okay, but there's opportunities when markets are up and markets are down, especially how I teach the business. But if you want to continue to just follow the lead of the people writing these articles and doing these interviews, that's fine. But let me ask you the question, are they investing? How much investing experience do these people have? So I'm going to show y'all some hard numbers here. How many foreclosures happened in 2008? Let's see. There were more than 3.1 million foreclosure filings issued during 2008, which means that 1 of every 54 households received a notice last year. This was published, the statement was published in 2009 of January. Now, it's 2008. Now, everybody's saying we're in a recession, people are losing homes and stuff like that. Like, we're hearing this, right? Let's look at how many foreclosures took place in 2021. Lenders started the foreclosure process for only 92,000 properties in 2021. It's so much of a gap, folks. Let's look a little deeper here. Let's go 2020. We got 6 months left. So is 6 months less than 2022 is 117,000. All right. Last year it was 92. It's 100. I still don't think we're going to even hit 500,000 before the end of the year. We're not going to hit. When we may not hit 1 million until 2024, 2025. So this is a huge, it's a huge difference between 2008 and 2022. I want y'all to understand this. All right. And from my lens, and again, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know what's going to happen. Is a bigger war going to break out? Is another pandemic going to take place? It's going to be worse than COVID. I don't have a crystal ball. But what I do know is what I'm seeing on the ground in my market. That's what I know. What I'm seeing happening for my student partners, what I'm seeing happen for myself. I don't see what I saw take place in regards to the housing market that I saw back then. I am seeing some things, but I'm not seeing this doom and gloom. I'm not seeing that yet. Some of the things that I'm seeing that are similar are the rising gas prices, are the rising mortgage rates. I am noticing properties that were recently purchased, they're empty now. I have no idea why, but guess what? There's a new industry that wasn't around in 2008 called short-term rentals. Well, it was short-term rentals back then, but it's popular now. Airbnb. Okay, maybe people are buying houses and doing an Airbnb and they're left empty, and that's what I'm noticing. They just didn't cut the grass. But back in 2008, if it was a vacant house and the grass wasn't cut and the house looked like it was renovated, well, that probably was a foreclosure or a house in pre-foreclosure, something of that nature, right? So on my in my market, what I'm seeing on the ground is a thriving real estate market if you know how to buy right, meaning you're not speculating. Okay, those days are long gone for me. I used to be a real estate speculator in the early 2000s. There were many speculators, and many speculators lost their shirts and their pants and their underwear, including myself, right? So now I'm more of a conservative numbers guy. I'm not going to try to get the most money in the neighborhood for a property. I want to get in a project, I want to get out. When I'm wholesaling a deal, I'm not trying to make the most money on the wholesale deal. I want to get in the project property, I want to get out profitable. Okay, I don't want to hold that deal. If you're wholesaling properties and you have deals under contract past 7 days, that means you have that property marketed at a price that is not real. It's a made up number. You're trying to break the bank. Or it also means you put the property under contract for more than you should have, and the market is responding to you. So everything, truly, if you want to be profitable in this business, okay, if you want to be profitable in this business, you have to know your numbers. You have to know your numbers, and you have to know the effects of the interest mortgage rates going up, because a $300,000 house back in January would cost you $1,200 versus a $300,000 house today is roughly going to cost you around $1,700-1,800 a month. That affects the consumer marketplace. That shortens your housing pool of buyers. Okay, understand that as you all move forward. It's all, write this down. It's all about the numbers, understanding the numbers, using a site like uspropertysearch.com that shows you the numbers. As long as you understand the numbers, folks, you'll do well in this business. I sent out a text earlier. I said 2 weeks ago, I showed you a check for 133K. Last week, I showed you a check for 48K. This week, I'm going to show you a check for 89K. Folks, that's almost 300K in a month's time through real estate. I share these numbers with you. Again, I always say this, not to impress you, but to impress upon you how powerful real estate is. It's very powerful, very powerful. I believe it's the most powerful asset class on the planet because number one, you can live in it. Number two, you can generate consistent residual revenue from it, whether you're doing short-term rentals or long-term rentals. Number three, the asset always appreciates over time, has been since the inception of real estate. Number four, you can pass that down from your generation to the next generation and the next generation. Guess what they can do? They can do all those other things I just mentioned. Those are just a few of the other benefits. They can live in it. They can make money from it. All right. They can pass it down. Oh, guess what? It's going to appreciate too. So the real estate continues to appreciate generation after generation after generation. But somebody has to start it. Somebody has to start it. And how do you start it? You get the right information. You get the right information and you share that information. All right. So I have a deal that's about to settle. I got a couple of deals that are about to settle, hopefully before the end of this month, but definitely going into next month. But I have a deal about to settle where it's an $89,000 and change profit from a property I renovated. Okay. And this was a property that I didn't send out a direct mail piece for. Speaking of direct mail, I got a call from a gentleman in a suburb in my marketplace. His house sits on an acre of land. Contract fell through. A real estate speculator was going to pay a really high price for this property. House, and I'll give you the numbers. The house value fixed up is $350,000. Fixed up, the real estate speculator put the property under contract for $250,000. How do you make money? It's almost a 3,000 square foot property. How do you make money? And you're gonna have to put over 100 grand into this property. Like, guess what? They didn't settle. They were speculating the interest rate was gonna stay low, and they were gonna probably be able to sell it for like 450. That didn't happen. That did not happen. So now this guy, he called me from a postcard. So they do work. Postcards do work. Actually, the postcard that I featured last episode is the same postcard that got me this potential lead. I haven't turned it into a deal yet, but that's neither here or there. The deal that I did close recently and renovated and now sold was a deal that one of the Freedom and Wealth Seekers sent me. And I appreciate you, Miss P. You sent me that deal. We executed. You sold the property for a profit, and we're gonna make a profit. After we put about $130,000 into this property. We're still gonna make a profit. And guess what, folks? We did not sell the property at the highest price possible. Like the comps in this neighborhood are between 300,000 and 400,000 in the past before the interest rate hike. We sold the property for $259. Affordable. Also, we left a lot of meat on the bone for the homeowner. So when the homeowner's real estate agent, see, a good real estate agent is going to really have a vested interest in your home purchase. Some real estate agents don't. They want to make as much money as they can off you. So I believe this buyer had a good real estate agent who told them that, hey, their houses down the street selling for 300 to 400. They don't look as good as this one though. That's selling for 259. 20 days, property went under contract, and it's a bunch of talk about the recession. Oh, and this home buyer ain't no fool. Like, well-educated, an attorney. Okay, she did her homework. She's coming from another state. Definitely did her homework. Okay. So there are a lot of educated people that are buying houses right now that understand. I mean, it's so hard not to be an educated consumer now with all the information out here on how to buy a home, on what equity is. I believe in 2008, and y'all probably agree, it wasn't a lot of information out there. There were a lot of people making unadvised decisions, financial decisions. They did not have any education on the types of loans that they were getting themselves into. And that's why we had 3.1 million foreclosures. That's part of the reason. That was part of the reason. All right. There were a lot of people that weren't educated on the types of loans that they were getting into. And they got stuck and the economy fell. Now, I'm not an economist, and I'm going to leave it like this. But there's some news coming out Friday that says if numbers aren't where they should be, from what history tells us, we should be in a recession if the numbers aren't such and such. All right. Now, this is what the news is saying. This is what other financial experts are saying. Now, there was an interest rate hike today. Okay, I read an article from the New York Times saying the Fed is trying to avoid a recession by raising the interest rate. What I saw today, when the mortgage rate hike went up like 0.75% or something, the stock market went up, the crypto market went up. There is still in my market, I can't speak on all, there are still inventory shortages, which create demand in certain neighborhoods. Every neighborhood in my market ain't sought after. I tell you that right now. There's still vacant and abandoned blocks. Okay, tens of thousands of vacant houses, but there are pockets, and this is happening all over the country. I just went to a wedding in Pennsylvania last week, and I met a young lady there from Cleveland, Ohio. And I have a student from Cleveland, and one of my students, they said that there's a really tough part of Cleveland called East Cleveland. So that's how I led the conversation. I said, because she brought up, what do you do? Basic small talk. I said, I'm in real estate. She said, oh, my best friend's in real estate, and they buy and flip houses in Cleveland. I'm like, oh, that's exciting. I do the same thing in my market. And I also have a student from Cleveland. And I tell her about East Cleveland. I say, East Cleveland, they say it's really tough. It's really, really, really tough, right? And then she lets me in on some information that I wasn't privy to. She said, well, we have the Cleveland Clinic. This is the hospital up there that's world renowned. And she said a lot of the doctors are starting to buy properties around the hospital. Now, guess what? I didn't find any news articles. And I didn't have any reason not to believe her. Like, she was part of the family. But she's on the ground. Okay. 15 years ago, those same conversations we were having about the neighborhoods in the Johns Hopkins corridor. There weren't any news articles. There was only rumors, right? That doctors were buying properties in the Johns Hopkins neighborhood, things of that. That was a buzz. So I believe her, right? I believe that there are doctors buying properties in East Cleveland because they're beautiful properties, number one. Number two, you can buy a house there for like $5,000, $10,000. I'm talking big single family detached, 3 or 4 apartments in. Like, it's a huge opportunity in real estate. So I had to dig a little deeper, right? I had to dig a little deeper. And this was during a reception at the wedding. Things were dying down. So I pulled out Google and I looked up the Cleveland Clinic revenue, okay, for last year. Their revenue was over $700 million. And I looked at what Johns Hopkins revenue was back in 2015. And the revenue, I believe it was one of those teams of the 2000s, the revenue was a little over $1 billion, right? So I looked at the revenue for 2021 for Johns Hopkins, and the revenue was over $7 billion. All right. And I said to myself, well, this tells me why 3 blocks away, a house 3 blocks away from Johns Hopkins is sold for over $1 million. And houses not far from there are selling for $200,000 to $400,000 because there's an engine in that community, right? There's an engine in that community. What does Johns Hopkins do every year? Well, they see more patients. Well, they hire more doctors. Well, they hire more nurses. Well, they hire more staff. Well, they continue to expand. Places like Cleveland, the Cleveland Clinic, they're generating hundreds of millions of dollars. Word on the street is doctors are buying property in neighborhoods near the hospital. Again, going back to what I said earlier, when I go into a market, I want to know where the big money is, who's investing, and y'all. And I said it's funny. Emily, that's her name. I said it's funny. I've been talking about Akron, Ohio, on my podcast. We're on episode 31 this week, and now we're having a conversation about Cleveland. So Cleveland is another place on my hit list of markets where I plan to invest some time and potentially some money. And I hope to help more people in that marketplace invest there as well. So folks, we can never stay under 30 minutes or under an hour. We just went over, folks. I had lost track of time. Sorry to hold you, but I believe this was a great episode. Episode 31 is in the books. I'm going to see y'all next week. I'm going to see you before then because I want to shoot a video. I got some videos I'm just holding. Some of you saw the 133K video I did for Derek Anthony's Flipphilosophy book. Shout out to D. Anthony. This 89K, I'm going to request a check. They could do a next day wire, but I'm old fashioned. I'm gonna get a check. It's going to take like 10 days to clear, but I want to show y'all the check before I deposit it. I'm going to do an ATM deposit and show you that this business is real. I did one for the other check. I'm going to do one for some more checks that are coming down the pipe. My students, they deposit checks. I got a call. Hey, Marcel, the check cleared. It's nothing like hearing that from my students that close deals. So folks, this has been great. God bless. And I'll see you at the closing table soon. Take care. Bye-bye.